The old gun barrel.
Fat tuba playing in the background. I like the orchestration. Probably my favorite bit of music thus far for the Bond gun barrel. Yeah, really fat tuba. So they reshot it for the widescreen aspect ratio. And Connery, it's not Bob Simmons, it's Connery. And I hate everything about his pose. Come on, it's Connery. Like he could have had a confident pose.
Yeah, he's got too much lax swagger.
Well, his walk is fine, but then when he like sort of bends his knee and wobbles, and it's like, come on. But there's some weird. I like the bit where like the widow opens the car door, and that's how Bond knows that it's a man. That's a bit.
I like that in theory. In practice, though, it's like I don't know. I think they could have built up the mystery that it was like somebody in disguise a bit more.
It was all for that surprise moment where he clocks her.
No, I know, but I think they could have built up the. I don't know. I could sort of tell there was something going on, but like I wasn't shocked, if that made sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if I was watching this movie in theaters for the first time in '65, that would have been a fun thing. The fight is pretty good, right?
The fight, yeah, it wasn't floaty at all. It was really like weighty, and you felt the punches again. That's like
it's good in this scene, but it gets horrendous later on. But but the woman, the widow, is actually Bob Simmons. That's Connery's stunt double for he was in the gun barrels for the first three.
Oh, that's why he couldn't record it because Bond fucking killed him. Got it. Oh yeah, so they do that whole rough fight scene, and I mean I don't have much to say on it other than that like it was again it had weight to it and it was tense and I liked it. So when he finally kills the dude,
with a fire poker.
Yeah, I've never understood in media and stuff when they show somebody strangling somebody with like a pole. It's like how does that even work? You'd have to exert so much force to break somebody's windpipe like that.
Well, you're just cutting off their breathing. You don't necessarily have to break their windpipe.
I guess. So he sees that they're trying to get in the room. He like hurries up and does it faster. But
then, you can tell it's like a really dodgy set because the door is like coming off the hinges.
Yeah. But what's really odd is he managed to go out the room, and he could have snuck out the room, and they wouldn't have known they wouldn't have known he went out the door. But he's opening the door to leave, and then he stops, turns, goes back, and throws some flowers on the dude.
I love that. It's such a Bond moment, though. It makes no sense, but that's such a Bond thing.
But it is, yeah, because he does something similar later in the movie. But I like the idea that he's such he likes the drama so much that he has to literally he sort of jeopardizes his own mission because he gets sort of caught because of that. Like he could have snuck out without anybody seeing him. Bear in mind he's a spy, so he should know better. But okay.
But it's just for the entertainment value, and I can totally waive that because it is a funny moment.
I mean, I think it's on purpose because they show that he could definitely have escaped and not even been caught, but the fact that he goes back to just do that just for the dramatic flair it's just funny.
I think it fits particularly well with Connery's Bond, and it would have fit with Moore's Bond too. But like Dalton would never do that, or Craig would certainly never do that. Maybe he would. But then, so the escape. By the way, the French lady, she's completely forgettable. I don't even know if we know her name or anything. But
what about the jetpack?
Jetpack. It looks hokey as hell, but it was a real thing. Well, but the inserts with Connery look horrendous. But you can see when the guy's flying, like the wide shots, they look totally real because they are they it's impressive.
But when it goes to him, you can tell about the green screen. It's
the funny. Back projection of this film has some of the worst in the entire series, if not the worst.
Yeah, that's really bad. Because when he's on the roof, he runs out the door on the roof, and then it cuts to him putting the jetpack on, and you can already see the green screen.
Yeah, I know. When he puts the helmet on,
or whatever.
But why is that an insert shot? They just forgot to film it, maybe.
They probably never had him outdoors wearing the jetpack.
No, he was running. He was running on the rooftop there, though, for sure.
Well, I know. Yeah. So here's my theory: is that the jetpack scenes? I'm not sure you actually ever see the jetpack and that building together physically. I think the jetpack was filmed somewhere completely different.
No, well, there's the shot from the DB5's perspective with the lady, where it's like coming at him from the distance. But I don't know, maybe that's probably not even the same building in the background.
Well, yeah, there's something like funny going on with how all that works.
Well, frankly, I mean, Terrence Young is back as the director. He was gone for Goldfinger, but he's back. But look, we talked about in From Russia with Love and Doctor No how I felt like he wasn't shooting a lot of the material he needed to, and Peter Hunt had to sort of work around it. I feel like that is very much evident here with a lot of the scenes.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
So definitely. I think probably Peter Hunt was dealing with continuity, and he was like, okay, well, Connery has a helmet on, and we never show him putting the helmet on or anything, and it just feels very weird. So okay, we'll reshoot it on Pinewood.
I almost wonder if you were meant to see him run out onto the roof, and then like it shows the other dudes run out onto the roof, and they see him jetpack off without seeing Connery put the jetpack on, and then they change it because that's stupid. I don't know. Anyway, so
DB5 is back.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this takes place pretty soon after Goldfinger, but
puts the jetpack in the boot, melts the entire back half of his.
Yeah, I told you how that thing was literally the temperature of the sun when it was done.
I'm not surprised. Those sort of jetpacks, because obviously we don't have real jetpacks like in like science fiction senses, but like jetpacks do sort of exist, and they're like that even now. So
yeah, well, I mean, especially for 1965. I mean,
but like it's interesting though, because those sort like jetpacks look like that. I know it looks funky, but I think that's because that's the only way to make them work at the moment.
So we see we saw the shield, some of the gadgets from Goldfinger, right? We see the shield come up, and then we see the water. Yeah, I don't know if that wasn't in Goldfinger. It was an oil slick.
I think, well, because I don't know if that's like just he's changed what's in the tubes. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if he changed what's sprayed out, or if it's meant to be like, because I mentioned how there's like all those different buttons that King never even says what they do. So I wonder if that's what they were. Just
press and bond, you'll find out.
Yeah.
But that transitions into the title sequence. So give me your first impressions of the titles and the song and everything.
I actually did like the title sequence. I like the song.
I love the song.
Yes, yeah, I think it is a good song. It's very iconic. I've had it stuck in my head all day. So
I think Robert Brown-Jones did the last two is gone, and Morris Binder's back. And this is one of my favorite Morris Binder sequences. And I think his sequences are best when he has a theme to play with, like the water theme in this one.
Yeah,
it happened with all the even climbing down the road. It's like if they have a proper theme they can play with, because otherwise they feel very disjointed and just sort of like hodgepodgey,
Yeah, I really enjoyed the visuals as well. How like it was obviously people swimming underwater, but also the lighting kept changing.
Yeah, and even like when the text came in, it was like that little like jiggly effect.
Yeah, I liked that. I liked that the text was clear. It was a good compromise between having it, I don't know, having funky visuals and then also sort of needing to tell the audience information.
Yeah, I love the visuals. I think Morris Binder's the early films he does are the best. I think he really gets sort of dried out later on. Like creativity wise, but yeah, early on I can't fault them. It's a great sequence. The song I think is better than Goldfinger, honestly.
100%.
Which is a little bit controversial, but
the best song they've had so far. But that's not saying much. Oh no, Free Blind Mice. Never mind.
I think it's definitely the best song thus far, and I mentioned to you that Tom Jones allegedly passed out hitting that last note.
You never mentioned that, or at least I wasn't listening.
I don't know if that actually happened, but that's a rumor that I've heard many times. But it is a crazy note.
1 hour later.
Why did they never ask him to do another song again?
I don't know.
Because I really enjoyed it. I'd like to, I'd like for them to get him back for the next one.
Hell yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be pretty cool. So that's the title sequence done. I just realized that the pre-titles do actually relate to the main story, because Mouvoir was one of the Spectre agents.
Oh, yeah, that's who they're talking about at the start.
Yeah, he was number 6. And we meet Largo. Hey, no parking, monsieur.
Hey, no parking here! Pardon, monsieur Labo.
You know what? The one thing is, I thought to myself, and this would make even more sense now that I've learned he was Sean Connery's stunt double, is he should have been number 7. 007 should have killed number 7.
That would have been funny. Yeah, okay, so we meet Largo. The Spectre meeting. Well, I mean, the sets. Ken Adam, amazing set. Largo's number 2. This scene is very iconic, but Blofeld is once again played by Anthony Dawson, and you can see his face kind of a little bit in like the shutters, and you can see clearly he has hair, which is sort of ignored from the next film. Yeah, but this is. Yeah, Blofeld is good. Blofeld has a lot to do in this movie because he's threatening, your government and stuff.
He should.
Which I thought, yeah. But so basically, this is where we learn the big Spectre plan, that they're going to steal nuclear weapons and threaten and hold the United Kingdom and the US for ransom.
Yeah.
For
so
how much? 100 million pounds?
I find this to be a downgrade from Goldfinger, because Goldfinger set up that type of plan. Well, I mean, it's not the same plan, but sort of a plan where you do stuff like that with money and radiation or whatever nuclear stuff, is Bond isn't impressed by it, but then when he learns that the plan, is to irradiate all that gold and devalue it, he's more impressed. But it seems like they've regressed and it's just generic supervillain plan.
Well, I mean, it's not as clever as Goldfinger's plot, but that's that Austin Power syndrome, because we now see the whole world domination plot as being a cliche, but it wasn't really. I mean, it kind of was then, but not really.
I guess it would be more like it's building up to a world domination thing, whereas in retrospect, I see it as the opposite. But I did like Blofeld. His presence is great because it's still mysterious and you don't know what he's capable of, and he doesn't even have to he just barely lifts a finger and he kills that guy in the chair and then just
he fries that guy. So we learn about the plan. This is one of my biggest problems with the film, is because the audience is always ahead of the characters, and that's a massive no for filmmaking. You want to have reveals happening alongside the characters, you know. So we learn about the plan, and then we'll be cut to Shrublands, Bond out of retreat.
Yep.
And Largo mentions Count Lippe, who we then meet. Bond meets immediately, and he sees the tattoo on his hand, which is a Tong sign.
Yeah,
and there's a great line. There's a great line where he's talking to Moneypenny, telling her to identify what it is, and he says, "Moneypenny, next time I see you, I'll put you over my knee."
Next time I see you, I'll put you across my knee.
On yogurt and lemon juice? I can hardly wait.
Oh, I remember that. But what did she say in reply? She retorts by saying,
she said, with yogurt and lemon juice."
Yeah, that's it. I was worried that I for some reason I was worried that would be the only appearance of MI6 and Moneypenny in the movie, and I was really glad it wasn't.
Bond meets Count Lippe, and what happens? He snoops around after finding out the Tong sign and everything.
The guy he's looking in that room, and then
he sees the Invisible Man.
Yeah, the Invisible Man.
I'm the Invisible Man. I'm the invisible man.
Comes in, and they're on either side of the door, which is kind of cool because neither of them obviously. The Invisible Man doesn't know that Bond's there, and Bond knows that he's there, but he hasn't seen him.
Yeah.
It's tense though because he stays there quite a while.
And then he starts making out with Molly Peters, the spa lady.
That's no. First, there's they put him.
No, that happens first, and then the spine thing happens, and then he does it again later on when he blackmails her.
What's that weird machine that he gets?
I don't know, but I hate that scene. It's like a spinal stretcher.
Yeah,
and it's like fucking Lippe comes in and puts us up to the danger setting, and Bond just gets rocked back and forth and passes out.
How long was he there being rocked back and forth until
like 30 seconds?
Oh, because that was so uncomfortable.
How bad was that scene? How bad was that scene? The fact that they thought that like created any sort of tension, it just blows my mind. Like,
I thought they were going for like it was going to launch him off through the wall. So we get like a glance at what Spectre's plan is because we see them take out that NATO official, correct?
Well, before that happens, Bond and Lippe keep having their cat and mouse game, which is like this weird
I thought
sort of.
This happened during it.
It happens. It happens after
he turns up.
He locks Lippe in the sauna.
I like that he uses the broom and he like turns the dial from far away.
What does he say? I'll tell the chef.
Yeah.
What the hell do you think you're doing? Now don't you worry. But I'll tell the chef. Let me on this bloody machine.
Larry,
but then we have the doppelganger scene.
Yeah.
So first of all, we meet Fiona Volpe, who is my absolute fucking favorite part of this movie. She's so hot, and she's a fantastic character. But yeah, so there's that. So she's in bed with Francois Duval, who's obviously an important character later on. But yeah, so he opens the door, and he's standing on the other side of the door.
Yeah, I kind of somehow I knew. I just think from other stuff. I expected that to be the case, but just can you imagine just like thinking it's it's room service and you're like, hey, put it in the
That's a good moment and a nice sort of reveal, but it's the effect is a little hokey, but
yeah.
So he goes into NATO base. He's a commandant, by the way, in NATO. So he's like, for some reason, they're doing a training flight with 2 active nuclear weapons, but
England.
So he's on board, and obviously, I find all that stuff with NATO to be so dull.
Oh yeah, agreed. My brain was turning itself off, and I kept having to reboot it myself.
So yeah, so he takes over the plane, and then they landed in the Bahamas, and then Largo takes it aboard, the Disco Volante, or not? He doesn't take it aboard, but he covers it up. The golden
in that like weird
grotto.
Camouflage top. That whole scene, it goes on for
so long. I know, it really does.
Like it just never ends. I think it's because they had to get their money's worth with the water, because there's scenes later on in the water that go on forever. But I just wanted it to end. I was begging for it to end.
The thing is, like I feel kind of conflicted because it's like hard to shoot and it's like technically impressive, but then the pacing is so fucking slow.
It's funny you say that. That's my exact sentiment on it, and I kept saying that to myself. I was like, okay, this is like, it's impressive that they're capable of doing it, and it is like a technical feat, but I just can't say that it's worth it.
So one thing to mention, I wrote down in my notes here, is that we're actually introduced to a character here, Vladislav Kutz, the bomb expert guy, who ends up being really fucking important and is not given the time of day in the movie. He literally is responsible for stopping the Spectre plan, like single-handedly.
No, he's not important.
Nice. I forgot to mention, there's another bit where Bond is snooping around, and where he comes in the room where Lippe bring the dead Duval back into Shrublands.
Yeah, why?
Well, because to make it look like he died in his sleep or something, so that they wouldn't be curious as to he'd be missing. But
I guess Bond catches it too soon.
Well, God, that's such a weird scene because he sees them. He sees them bringing it in, and then so he comes to the room. He takes off the mask and sees Francois, and Lippe is in the shed, like in the next room with a gun. He's like putting a sound on the gun, and then the guy. I have to just vent about this because so there's a guy by the window behind the curtain. Bond picks up the phone and like he sees the guy at the curtain, and then like he fights him, knocks him out, chokes him out, and Lippe just vanishes, and he's ready to shoot Bond. He's just gone. What the hell was that?
I have no idea. I was so because I was like paying attention very intently, and when Bond gets the guy in the window, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then how he never comes out from the shadows.
I just that's an easy fix too for continuity. You just cut out the scenes with Lippe. I mean,
I know.
that's fine because Lippe gets fucking blown up by Fiona in a few minutes.
Does Bond ever actually see him?
Lippe?
Yeah, because he's on the other side
when he first meets him. True. Oh, you mean does he see him in that scene?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't even know he's there. I don't think.
Does he actually know Bond's in the room, or does he just happen to be waiting there with his gun?
I mean, he would have heard them fighting. I mean,
so why didn't he come out and help?
That's what I'm saying. It makes he's literally preparing to shoot Bond. And forget it.
You see that guy dies, and like, fuck that. I'm going home.
Yeah, really. That guy got his life taken just because Lippe couldn't be bothered to shoot. But he literally had a gun in his hand. He couldn't be bothered to shoot Bond.
Perfect opportunity as well because Bond's busy doing something. But that's another Bond doing weird shit for no reason. He ties the phone cord around the dude after he's killed him, but it's not like he
that was weird.
Him. He just does it and you can hear somebody in the ring. You're like, hello, hello.
So Bond goes back to MI6, and there's a big conference going on with all the double O's, which I thought was pretty sick, actually. I like seeing all the double O's. And one of them is a woman, which I like.
I like that he goes in, it's like he's been late for class.
Now that we're all here.
Yeah.
Well, now that we're all here.
So he plays the tape of the threat of the ransom from Blofeld.
Yeah, and then he does that really over the top thing where they lift up that big painting that's got a map underneath. And he's like, here's where the plane probably is. Thank you. And it's like, what was the point of that shit?
Just to show off the cool set. It's just to show off the cool set. So let me go to we're at Nassau now. Oh well, first there's the bit where Moneypenny refers to M as the old man.
Yeah. So what? Okay, what's the deal with his hat?
I think I had a hat when I came in.
He makes a remark.
Yeah, I thought I had a hat when I came in. I don't understand what that is.
Because when he comes in, does he put a hat there?
Well, no, because when he comes in he comes in, and then he looks at the hat.
And he asks about
but he doesn't put it on. He looks at the rack. He doesn't put it on the rack, right?
But does he have a hat?
Yeah, he has a hat. And then Moneypenny says, go to the conference room.
So where did he leave his hat?
I don't know. That's the thing.
Did Oddjob come back to life?
Shut up.
Steal it.
I don't know. There's so many. That's a weird little thing. I think it's like an inside joke that I don't understand.
Thought I had a hat. Twat.
So the Bahamas. Bond meets Domino underwater. There's a great line where he mentions about how she has 2 moles on her leg. Yeah,
because Moneypenny asks how he's going to recognize her if he doesn't take the photo.
She has 2 moles on her left thigh.
But then he when he actually meets her, he makes a comment about it.
It's when she's climbing up the ladder to get in the boat, and he's like, "I was right, hard to miss," or something like that. And he says something like that.
I was right, couldn't miss.
Okay, well, first of all, Domino's introduction, Claudine Auger, who passed away a couple years ago, is dubbed by Nikki Vandersill.
Oh, what a surprise!
Domino's another I think, honestly, of the Bond films thus far, it has the most attractive women. She's stunning. But
I like Domino's character.
I do too. I wish she wasn't fucking dubbed though. But
yeah, I agree. Well, that's the complaint, isn't it? And I don't know why they did it. But
it's not a fault on the actress or anything. It's just a fault on really filmmaking at the time, really.
Yeah.
But we also meet Paula here. So Paula is played by Martine Beswick, who is one of the gypsy women from Russia with Love.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but she's actually, I was going to say she's actually a character in this movie, but she's not really. I mean, which is a shame because I like her.
For her very brief appearance, even though she didn't have much to do. I just like the
she
idea.
has good chemistry with Bond. I just feel like her and Connery were probably friends in real life.
It's funny because, like, if they did something like that, I don't know, in a later movie, I'd imagine they'd get someone like, it'd be like Moneypenny he brings with him or something. I don't know. That's the sort of, but yeah.
Bond meets Domino, and then so what? They agree to meet, or no, he goes. She takes him back to his hotel or something, and
what happens
back to Nassau.
So, okay, there's some weird thing about Patrick Starr, and then he pretends his boat is broken.
Right.
And then so she has to bring him back, but like he says to what's her name?
Paula. He
says to Paula, like, "Are you okay staying until the rescue boat comes?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, yeah."
Well, she knows the drill with him.
Yeah. So then they go onto the mainland and they have dinner, and Paula's still obviously not back and still stranded. She's probably still there now.
No, she wasn't ever stranded though. The
boat I know
was
she
never.
Wasn't, but it's funny. So there's this weird conversation about her guardian.
Well, hold on. I want to talk about. I think that happens the next day, doesn't it? Isn't it the night? Oh no, the nighttime thing is later.
That's
on.
Later than they do.
I like how they pull up. They pull up on the beach. They pull up on the beach, like straight up on the beach.
Yeah, there's a guy there, and like I was watching it, and I was like, "Dude, you're about to get hit by that boat." And he grabs the boat, and then he grabs it like Hulk, spins it around 3 times, and launches it back into the Bermuda Triangle.
There's also a guy. I think there's a guy with binoculars, or there's another guy watching who's supposed to be Largo's guy, I guess. But then we also see Felix, and I hate this fucking
Felix School King.
I hate. Yeah. They only recast him just so they can pull that same fucking gimmick every time. I hate it so much. They stop doing it later on, but it's like, come on. And also, I think Rick Van Nutter is by far the worst Felix Leiter in the entire series. He is so bland. It's unbelievable.
Even more bland than the one in Doctor No, who I don't think even had a personality.
Oh, Jack Lord is like one of the best. Are you kidding me?
Never
Felix Leiter is such a forgettable character to begin with, but
It's funny because even though I could tell it was a different actor, I knew it was Felix. I just could. It's
like on one hand they think they're being clever by lurking him around, but on the other hand we know because they do that same shit every time that it's going to be Felix.
But it's like I'm 4 movies in and like I'm expecting it to be Felix. Yeah.
So they have the scene with the conch chowder, and the dialogue is good, but the dubbing just bothers me so much.
Yeah. I didn't understand, why did they keep calling him her guardian? Like.
She's a kept woman, really. I don't really understand the relationship because well, there's a bit later on where Bond says, "Oh, Largo's your uncle," and she says, "That's one way to put it," or something.
Yeah.
And she says, "How would you call a kept woman late, or whatever?"
Yeah.
But so there's a bit where I think because there's something with, like, I don't understand. Like, it's just coincidence that her brother is Francois Duval. Like, it's just total coincidence.
Yeah.
Or did Largo, like, because there's nothing there, It's like no ties. I don't understand.
I almost wonder if there was a rewrite at some point, and originally there was 2 different characters, one his sister and one number 2's like woman.
And they just made them siblings to make for an emotional thing at the end.
Yeah, I guess. Because I think originally it was just that she was his, like, mistress, but they changed it.
I think maybe they did that. They need that because otherwise how would Bond turn her and convince her to help him at the end?
Because he's got that weird hypnotism thing.
I mean,
they already had a built-in
it's to give a character arc for Domino, really.
No, yeah, I guess that's what it was for, but it was just a bit...
It's just very coincidental.
Yeah.
So there's a great bit where he notices that the bracelet on her ankle, and she says, "What sharp eyes you have," and he says, "Wait till you get to my teeth."
Yeah.
What sharp little eyes you've got.
Wait till you get to my teeth.
God, that's the lines are so good.
I don't know, because he's so witty.
And it's just totally natural from Connery.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, I don't even know how to put it. It's just that I'd like to talk to him, just because...
Well, he's dead, so too bad. So now we have the night party at the casino club.
The nighttime scene.
I love how like everybody's driving around in boats. Like there's no cars in the Bahamas. Everybody's just driving around. Like people are parking their boats and stuff. That's just such a cool like cultural thing. But the music's really good and very jazzy when they pull up.
Yeah, I like I like them playing what card game is it this time?
Baccarat. It's Baccarat.
Baccarat.
If you ever see The Shoe, it's Baccarat.
Number 2, like there's this whole thing about him being like actually fair at playing cards instead of like
because of Goldfinger.
Yeah, Goldfinger being dick about it, playing cards, even though I thought it was chess.
Well, Largo is also dubbed, by the way. I'm sure you noticed that.
Yeah, I could tell.
He's an Italian actor named Adolfo Celli. But I like it. That's a good scene though. And Bond's like talking about the Spectre on your shoulder, and it's like, like Bond's just like prodding him, you know.
I like that sort of coy back and forth that they have.
Yeah. No, it's really good. No denying that. And that I just love every Bond casino scene is always good. Yeah. And it always leads to witty conversation, and it's always good.
They should probably write a book and adapt a movie about that.
Yeah, maybe someday. We see Felix lurking at the table again, too. So Bond goes back to the hotel, takes his key from the receptionist, and of course she's drooling over him immediately as he's going up the stairs.
Who wouldn't be? I sure am.
And there's this really cool scene where he has the tape recorder in the book in his room to, like, if anybody susses around or, like, sneaks around.
Yeah, that's... okay, this is... For me, even though, like you said, Felix is kind of weak in this movie, I did like this whole scene.
Well, hold on. First of all, when he's listening to tape recorder, one thing I loved, like camera-wise, you hear he's listening to the footsteps walking across the room, and they're showing you where the foot. That's a great moment.
It is really great. Cool. It's a really good way of like visualizing what you're hearing.
Yeah, I think I bashed the shit out of Terrence Young a lot, but that's a really clever thing to do.
Yeah.
But it leads Bond to know that there's a guy in the bathroom in the shower. He turns the hot water on, which immediately comes out at 1,000 degrees, even though that makes no sense.
Well, maybe like Bond, whenever he's leaving his room, he turns on the shower really hot just in case he has to do that.
Yeah, but before he knows the guy's in there, and then Felix knocks at the door, and he's like, "Hello, 00," and then Bond gut punches him with a triangle.
Well, hello, 00.
Which is, I mean, that makes sense. It does make sense.
Yeah, I know. He like wins him, but then like Felix doesn't even seem to like mind that much. Like he doesn't. I don't know.
But then again, it's one of Largo's goons, and Largo must know that Bond is 007. So what does that even matter?
Maybe he's worried that his goon will come out of hiding once he knows that it's definitely Bond there. I know. There's a lot of plot holes in this movie, so yeah. It's interesting as well because like this is the second movie in a row where sort of Bond's like male like friend who's helping him out is Felix again.
Have you noticed? You'll notice definitely later on, but there's sort of a trend with the Felixes that they do an older one or a hip and cool one. This is the second hip and cool one, and then obviously Secklinder was the older one. But it's like they do it back and forth. It almost depends on the movie too.
Do you think?
Actually, you know what? It also depends on the director because Terrence Young has the cool ones, and Guy Hamilton has the older ones. It's weird.
Oh, probably, yeah.
So Paula Pinder, Felix Spider picked a peck of pickled peppers. Yeah, so we meet more ancillary inconsequential characters, or really just Pinder, who's literally completely forgettable and pointless to be introduced. Paula could have just filled that role. I
only tangentially remember him for the 2 seconds of the film he was in.
But yeah, well, he has like a little hideout that they take him to, where
and then your boy Q walks in.
Yeah, we find out that Big Ben, it strikes 7 times.
Yeah,
which was supposed to be a response to Blofeld.
Yeah, and like
which was part of the ransom
on the news as if it was just like a technical fault.
Yeah,
which is interesting,
But there's supposed to be this ticking clock element that I don't really feel the attention from throughout the movie.
Oh, I did not even know that. No, I don't feel either.
Yeah, they keep saying, we only have 50 hours, we only have 24 hours, we only have 13 hours. Q. I hate this Q scene. Even though I love Desmond Llewellyn. Because Bond is like such an asshole to him for some reason. Like Q walks in and Bond goes, "Oh God," or something like that.
Oh God.
Which is funny. But then Q's just trying to do his job and Bond's like twatting with all the gadgets and stuff. And it's like just that usually happens. But Bond is just like, but usually Bond's just like messing around just to have like a jab at Q, but Bond is like actually being a dick to Q.
I wonder if part of the reason you don't like it is because it's like, well, Q's meant to be on his holiday and he's like dressed for his holiday and Bond's fucking with him when he's just trying to have a good time.
Well, he's not. He says he's equipping him. He's like, equipping him in the field is highly irregular.
He has an Hawaiian shirt. I doubt he doesn't get like a bit of sun.
No.
He's got a
he's
Hawaiian
really tan in the next movie.
He's not even in the next movie because he's still there.
He gives him some pretty okay gadgets that are not as interesting as
I didn't find that interesting. The only one of note was the like pill that's like a bit like the Homer, and he said that you have to swallow it, and Bond says,
"No." Well, it's like slightly radioactive. That's like kind of fucked, honestly.
Good, he deserves it. I kind of like the Geiger counter watch, and I guess it comes up in a couple of places later.
Yeah, but also the camera is also Geiger counter. But Q doesn't even mention that in the scene, but it's important later on. He just mentions that it takes eight like infrared pictures underwater.
Oh,
that is the same camera, right? I think so.
That's the there's a camera that takes infrared pictures, and then he's got the Geiger counter.
Yeah, but he gives that camera to Domino at the end, and he says it's a Geiger counter as well. It doesn't matter. The watch is kind of cool looking.
I mean, they're okay, but like, I don't think they have anything on the last movies. From Russia with Love's gadget case.
I agree. But Bond then takes that stuff to, now he's going to see Domino on Disco Volante. He's trying to sneak on. Or I don't even know if he's even trying to get on it, but he's just sussing it out. And he takes some pictures underwater. And when he did that, I was like, what the hell is he taking pictures of? It looks like you can't see anything. But then they start fucking dropping grenades overboard.
So, full disclosure, literally from this point on is when my brain started only paying half attention. Like, I was paying, like, I know what's happened and everything, but I don't know why this is where the movie fell off for me massively.
Yeah, I think the fact that you just casually drop fucking frag grenades off the side of your boat is pretty stupid.
Yeah.
But Bond obviously gets away with pretty much no problem, just probably really bad headache.
Yeah, it like knocks him about.
Yeah. But then enjoyability is increased significantly when Bond gets back on shore and is picked up by Fiona. That's a good scene, I think. I don't understand why she's driving 100 miles an hour the whole time, and she's like trying to freak Bond out, I guess. I don't really know what that was about.
That was like, I thought they were building up to something there as well. That was another scene where I thought Bond was going to go like through the windshield or something. I keep thinking Bond's going to fly through like objects of some kind.
At least there's some funny lines. And when she goes around the corner, he says, "Fly here often."
You fly here often?
Do I make you nervous?
No.
It's funny because while she's driving, like when she's changing the gears and speeding up and freaking him out, he notices her Spectre ring.
Yeah, that's like, come on.
Well, I
like
mean,
you would never see an Al Qaeda member wearing a freaking Al Qaeda pin on their fucking shirt.
Yeah, my theory is the ring is like actually like a decoder ring. Blofeld has his own cereal, Blofeld Bites. It's got the cat on the front eating the cereal. It's a whole thing. It's very odd. I don't know why.
You could actually buy those rings, and they are cool looking, but yeah, that's just stupid. So Fiona takes Bond back to his hotel, and there's a moment where she says, some men don't like to be driven, and he says, no, some men just don't like to be taken for a ride.
That's a really good line.
There's so many of those good moments. I was actually like smiling for the first time watching this movie, because every time I've watched this film in the past, I'm just watching it purely for enjoyment's sake, and I don't get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Like with other people, but I'm watching by myself, and I'm being very analytical. And I'm listening to the dialogue, and it's like it's really sharp and good, but everything else around it is not.
Yeah. I actually think that's why, even though I didn't enjoy the movie, I did enjoy everything that Connery did, because he still gave out a really good like performance.
Yeah, and a lot of people claim that the next film and I agree that he couldn't be fucking bothered for the next movie, and you'll see. But I think he definitely peaks around Goldfinger Thunderball era as Bond, definitely as far as his wit goes.
Yeah.
But the next thing I have written is fuck, the writing is so good, because it's where they're doing the skeet shooting, and Fiona says she'll kill Bond, but then so Bond shows up and Largo's got the gun in his hand, and Bond goes, "A gun looks more fitting for a woman."
Oh.
And Largo says, "Do you know much about guns, Mr. Bond?" And he says, "No."
I know a little about women.
That is such a good line. And the delivery is, we also meet Vargas, the most bland fucking henchman.
Okay, here's how bland he is. I cannot picture him in my head.
He's a really skinny, lanky guy with like the receding hairline. He's like, Vargas does not drink. Vargas does not make love. Vargas does not add anything to the story. But we also cut to Paula being captured. Which, this is a weird thing, because Fiona walks into her room. It's the room next to Bond's, I think, is how this works, right? Because it comes into effect later on. But she moves in, and then Paula's there on the couch, and they capture her. And then later on, when Bond comes back,
yeah.
Well, there's a whole bunch you have to talk about, but Bond walks in, and he thinks it's Paula's room, or he's expecting to see Paula. I thought he was going back to his room, and Fiona was in his room. But it must have been he was going to see Paula. So I skipped a bit there with that, because I just wanted to mention that. But there's the bit where they go to the Junkanoo parade, like the Mardi Gras parade.
Oh, yeah.
And Bond...
You kept coming back to that.
Yeah, well, they first go to it, and they come back to it later. But they first go to it, and Bond has them shut off the power across the island, so he can get into Palmyra.
Number 2's like, what's happening?
Yeah, and then, so Bond sneaks into Palmyra. And you see Ladislav Coots briefly, has no dialogue, and then you find out that Paulo, I guess, took a cyanide capsule and is dead, with no fanfare whatsoever.
Yeah, that was a shame. Is it definitely that she took it, or was she made to?
Well, Ladislav Coots walks into Vargas, is like there in the room with her, and he says, you weren't supposed to kill her or something, and Vargas says, I didn't do it. It must have been cyanide or something.
Oh,
so
that sucks. So yeah, see, I really would like more out of her character, just because I don't know. I think you can have an interesting dynamic with Bond, but
I think so too. But the film is just too fucking bloated. I think honestly they could have, if they had just taken out Felix and Pinder and just had Paula. Honestly.
Yeah, because Felix already doesn't have much to do, and you waste time establishing.
He just flies Bond around in a helicopter. That's really all his role is. Which
is a shame, because in Goldfinger, there's quite a lot to do.
But so we see Bond sneaking around Palmyra, and there's a bit where he comes out of the basement, and the basement door clearly slams down, and it makes no noise because there's people right behind him, like a little bit above him, that would hear it. It like slams down. There's not a single.
What's got him? He must have come down from the beach. There's plenty of cover in the... Se nascosto nel bosco.
It makes no sound. It's like really fucking stupid. He could have at least like put it down gently.
So, the Mardi Gras parade, they keep showing shots of it. They keep showing the same shots, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I didn't even like the actual, like the floats and stuff.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know if it was stock footage or they didn't record that much of it.
No, they were there.
Well, maybe they just didn't have too many good shots. I don't know.
But first Bond has to make his escape, and I like how he jumps on the roof and he kind of slips and drops his gun. Like he actually makes a mistake.
I like that he's not always infallible, and even though he's sort of like a superhuman, he's not sort of, he's still human, like he sort of stumble, which is
he has like extreme skills, but he's still not perfect.
Yeah, exactly. That's good though, because I don't like the idea of him just being a robot basically who can do everything. I mean, I know he's not in terms of personality, but I mean in sort of his capability as well.
So there's this. This all ends up in the fight in the shark pool, where Bond and the henchmen get locked under in the pool, and Bond stabs the guy, and then Largo lets the sharks in, and the sharks all just go right past Bond for the guy who's bleeding.
Yeah. Well,
Which
I mean,
makes
that
sense.
yeah.
I know it makes sense. But I like how there's so many shots. Every shot where there's actually a shark passing by, it's clearly a stunt double for Connery, which is fine, but it's a bit like, come on.
Is it? Does he have a different stunt double in this movie?
It's not Bob Simmons. It's some different guy from underwater stuff.
So, yeah. Sharks go past him.
Yeah, well, Bond, and then Bond easily escapes by swimming into the shark pool and coming out of that.
Yeah.
And
I guess that's meant to be like a daring thing, like, oh, he's swimming through sharks and live.
So then he goes back to the hotel, and this is what we're talking about with the Paula's room. And he goes in. This is a great scene. Like, he goes in and finds Fiona in the bathtub, and she says, "Can you give me something to put on?" And he gives her the shoes.
Nice.
That's so good. But ultimately, this ends up, of course, in having like the kinkiest sex scene in the whole fucking series. Honestly,
no, thank you.
it is though. Like, he's like calling her like an animal, like her. She's calling him like a brute, and he's like calling her an animal, and like she's like talking about this bed is like a cage. It is kind of kinky. I noticed there's a bit where, I mean, pretty quickly, Fiona reveals herself to be an enemy to Bond when Vargas and the henchmen show up.
I would
he
have
mentions
never
how
guessed that ring wasn't just stylistic.
No, she was just a fangirl. There's a weird bit, not a weird bit, but he says, I only slept with you for king and country.
What I did this evening was for king and country. You don't think it gave me any pleasure, do you?
Which I thought was weird, because why would he say queen and country?
Yeah,
I mean, that's a completely pedantic thing to talk about, but I just noticed that it's kind of weird.
But I guess maybe because it would sound a bit odd saying I slept with you for queen and country. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I just thought that was a bit strange, considering I mean, she would have been queen for a decade already by then. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. If anything, I would have changed the line completely and not had it mentioned that. But yeah.
So they take Bond in, and they get stuck in traffic at the junk canoe. And this is what a convenient situation where the guy comes in with a vodka bottle.
Viagra bottle? He doesn't need that.
The vodka bottle. And he's he's holding the vodka bottle inside the car. He's like this drunk guy.
Nikolai.
And Fiona happens to be smoking next to him. And he knocks the vodka bottle out of the guy's hand and pours it over the seat, and he ignites it, and it fucking explodes.
Yeah, that was
I mean, it's like clever, but it's so, convenient.
Yeah, that's what you got to skirt the line with, is when it's Bond's ingenuity and when it's just like, yeah, right.
But I have to say, I like this whole chase scene. I like that Bond gets shot in the leg immediately.
Yeah,
That's good.
Again, it shows that he's not like undamageable.
Yeah, and it leads to like the blood. The blood is leaving a trail, basically. It's fucking him over.
Which is funny as well, because I guess that sort of ties into Sharks, where it's like they go for blood.
Yeah, that's true. That's good. I think the chase scene maybe goes on a little bit too long. But like the bit where he's hiding in the float.
Yeah.
But then he goes to the Kiss Kiss Club. That's good. He goes to the bathroom and ties a thing around his wound, and then he takes the woman and starts dancing with her. And then starts dancing with Fiona. Which Fiona dies.
Dancing with Felix. Starts dancing with Blofeld.
Yep.
And then that's where the movie ended, hopefully.
I like Fiona's death, except like Vargas. First of all, he's standing behind a curtain, and he's got his hand coming through the curtain, but he can't see anything. He's like, it's just his hand.
It's like a really thin curtain. You just can't tell.
Well, also he shoots between Bond's fingers or something. I don't really like, Like Bond has on her back, and like she starts like that's really clunkily done, but it's a cool scene. And I like Bond's. You might have my friend sits this one out. She's just dead.
Yeah.
Mind if my friend sits this one out? She's just dead.
But it's a shame because Fiona is my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, I'd agree. I did like her.
So Bond. So they kill Fiona, and then Bond's just able to get away for some reason. The henchmen just forget about him, I guess. Fucking.
Just like earlier.
Yeah, I know it's so contrived. But the next day, Bond and Felix are scouting around for the plane, and they find it in the Golden Grotto. He calls it, and then Bond goes under, and he takes Francois' dog tag and his watch.
Yeah, I liked him. I guess that's why they sort of added that plot line with
It is.
his sister, because I actually did like that, because it sort of showed a more, I don't know, it showed that everything isn't just about like world-ending stakes. It sort of grounds it.
Yeah, and then and Felix mentions, how are you going to get on the Disco Volante? And he says you're going to go to Largo, and he says, "Oh, I don't think I'll have to." And he's looking at the dog tag because okay, he's got this is his way in.
Yeah, like sort of that's the good thing about it, is like he doesn't do something ridiculous. He like manages to appeal to somebody's human side.
I do hate the next bit though, where he's going to go confront Domino about her brother, but he goes and meets her underwater, and they have underwater sex.
That's what was happening. Oh yeah, of course it was.
Yeah, they go like behind the rock, and there's like the bubbles coming up.
Yeah, whatever. There's a thing as well, and I know the underwater stuff looked clunky anyway, just because of how it had to, the way they was filming it. But it's like, even in fight scenes, and just like, it would be so awkward and annoying to move around underwater that like I don't know.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
Visually, though, the underwater scenes look really good. I mean,
the
colors of the film, the film was really rich, and the widescreen ratio makes it look more cinematic. So visually, it's really good. But that's not the problem with the film.
It's the choreography, but also, I guess they're limited in the first place with what they can do. So I don't know. It's like I don't know how you get around that.
So Bond tells Domino the truth, and I think that's actually like Claudine Auger does a great job there. She's crying, and it's totally believable, I think.
Yeah,
that's a good scene.
I felt bad for her, and it's like otherwise she would not have got that closure.
I know, she would never have known. Her brother's dead body was literally in the sea, probably like a couple miles from her, and she never even knew until Bond.
Exactly, yeah. And it's just like, yeah.
Well, that's not true, actually, because she would have found out eventually. Why didn't she know? Because they would have found Francois' body, like the actual Francois, at Shrublands. You think somebody would have contacted her?
Well, we don't know what they did with it after.
Well, Lippe just left it at Shrublands, I'm assuming.
Well, we don't know, because the last we saw, he was like, I don't know, but they could have done something like changed his face. I don't know. They could have pulled him somewhere where I think
that whole plant was so that nobody would be suspicious of what happened to Duvall.
But they might not even know, because obviously they had to make sure that his doppelganger had time to take his place on the plane.
Well, actually, I'm just thinking, because they would have, if they had just left him there, they would have found his body, and they'd be like, but wait, Duvall was on the flight.
Exactly, yeah. So what I'm thinking is that they were going to do something, but they're keeping him hidden for now.
I think it doesn't really matter, because Spectre is just banking on them not finding the plane and the bombs.
True, yeah.
I think once they've gotten, after Duvall and that whole thing is done, they don't really care what they find out about it. But so Domino finds out, and Bond convinces her to. He says, "Here, take this Geiger cam, and check, and you'll know when the bombs are on board, and then go on the deck, and I'll see you, and I'll know to come on board, or whatever."
Yeah. It's interesting that he's not the one using that gadget.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's.
No, it's good, because it's like. I don't know. It's like, because you always think it's Bond, he's going to use the gadgets like a mouse tool, but
no, yeah, I agree. That doesn't happen so severely in this early era, but
yeah, Karim Bey when he's using the sniper as well. I like the idea that they're not just for him, and they're not just completely situational.
So Vargas shows up, and Bond spear guns him. I think you got the point.
I think you got the point.
See, it makes me laugh thinking about it.
Bond then sneaks on. He finds some scuba gear and sneaks. He like gets into Largo's posse that's moving the bombs onto Disco Volante.
What color? Okay, so I was losing track of what color meant what.
Well, this was before the battle at the end.
Yeah. So was this
Bond
when
is
he
in
was
like a
in the
black.
black?
Yeah, he's in the black.
Got
he's
you,
moving,
okay.
and as they're moving the bomb, Bond is recognized by Largo, and then they escape, and Bond actually ends up getting locked out of the Disco Volante.
Yeah.
And then the bombs are brought on board, and Domino she detects them with the Geiger counter, and then is caught immediately by Largo.
Yeah.
Who then ties her up and is
Like,
about to beat shit out of her, I think.
Why didn't you just kill her? Wanting information, I guess.
I don't know. Yeah, probably. But then we see Ladislav Kutz is having a change of heart. I mean, this fucking character. Wow. But then, okay, so Bond really ultimately doesn't matter about the Geiger counter thing, because Bond, I think the whole thing of Bond sneaking aboard Disco Volante was a last minute plan, right? He wasn't going to come on. He wasn't going to be involved until the Navy and all them were brought in.
Not the Navy.
But he.
Squidward, the robots are running the Navy! Not the Navy!
But he found the scuba gear and everything, and was like, oh, I can just sneak in with Largo. But that ends up going south. But then he knows the bombs are on board, and then he brings in Felix and the Navy or the Coast Guard or whatever they are.
Yeah, I guess it was sort of like a spur at the moment.
So then the big climactic underwater battle starts, and then we see. I like the bit of all the people parachuting into the water. It's like a cool thing.
Yeah, that's cool. What comes after it is not, because they're just doing really crap, like a scuffle underwater, and it keeps cutting to like similar shots of just them like tussling, and it's like, what?
Yeah, and they all it's either they take their mask off or they cut their air. They all take them out the same way.
And what's great is there's like the scenes like where Bond's doing stuff, and like they all happen, and then it like cuts back, and I think Bond even gets out of the water at some point and gets in the orange scuba gear, and then he finally gets in the water again, and they're still like fighting the same.
No,
like,
Bond is already gone, because Bond is dropped in. Yeah, a bit like halfway through the fight or something.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And then Felix is like, everything looks good on you, and he's like flirting with him.
Well, again, that's the kind of stuff I like out of Felix.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, he obviously says it because he knows Bond's like a pretty boy, and it's like he's just making a comment about
something
that.
like it's just a friendly.
But that's at least something, is they still know what their relationship should be in this movie, even if you don't think he's a good Felix, and I sort of agree.
But the underwater fight goes on for like 10 minutes.
I know. I just wanted it to end. I just really.
But there's several shots of sharks, like proper animal cruelty. Like there's several shots of sharks bleeding. A harpoon goes right through a shark's head. It's like really grotesque.
Were they real sharks?
Yeah. Oh, and there's a bit earlier on where Felix just snipes the one shark.
Yeah, I felt bad for the sharks. Just like the tarantula in Doctor No, I really felt bad for the sharks. Like, hashtag save the sharks. Don't.
Yeah, that really bothered me.
You know, it did me as well. I 100% agree. I mean, it wouldn't happen nowadays. They physically couldn't do that nowadays because of laws.
Well, they just CGI it now.
I don't even think they'd even do that.
So the tussling goes on for eons. Get it, Eon Productions. And there's a bit where I think it's Largo takes off Bond's mask, and then Bond takes some other guy's mask, puts it on. That would not work. It would be filled with water.
Yeah, and like,
right? Am I crazy?
No. You're right. And like, wouldn't he have to hook it up again?
I mean, not the breather, the goggles.
No, I know he does the goggles, but like, he just puts them on. Wouldn't he like have to spend a while like readjusting them and stuff, and like sizing
it doesn't make any sense that he doesn't.
You know, because the guy's probably got a different size head, and like.
Well, it's elastic.
Well,
doesn't matter. It doesn't make any sense regardless. That's like in movies where they have like, if you take the rebreather out of your mouth and like you put it back in, you're fucked because you get your mouth full of water.
Yeah, I know exactly the sort of stuff you're talking about in movies.
It happens in Free Rise only.
Oh.
But yeah, so what even happened? So I can't even remember how that fight, the battle ends.
No, I can't. This is what I mean. It's like
I think it's just that the Largo and Bond go back above water onto Disco Volante because they're both on
for
it.
the bombs.
Well, okay. So here's the big deal. Coots frees Domino and says, "I threw the arming device into the sea, so they cannot detonate the bombs."
Yeah,
Literally,
I remember saying that and then this sort of goes with how you're saying they like underplay this character.
Yeah, because he single-handedly thwarted the Spectre fucking plot.
See, you know what? When he said that, I thought what was going to happen was there was going to be a reveal that no, they've got another way to set off the bombs, and it's going to be a big race to like stop that.
A fuse, like the old-fashioned TNT, like.
Yeah, it's got like a little like timer on it. It's like bundle of, and like Wile E. Coyote's like Blofeld's cat like starts changing its Wile E. Coyote. See, then this is the twist: is that Thunderball is a prequel to Looney Tunes Back in Action.
Okay, so we have what I think is the worst part of the entire film now, which is the final fight with Largo and the worst back projection I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's sped up horrendously. It looks bad. And the editing is horrendous. How could anybody think this fight is good? Like, it's so jarringly bad.
Is it something to do with reshoots again?
I mean, because...
again, we're only ever theorizing about reshoots, or change things, but that's the only explanation I can think of.
I think for some reason they just think that speeding up the footage is going to make the pacing better. But there's been literally shots where Largo's like going to punch Bond, and they're like chopping scenes just there of like him swinging. Like, it's like they didn't get a shot that lasted more than 2 seconds. It's just very weird.
Yeah,
and it makes for a really crappy fucking final fight.
It's definitely the worst. Sort of.
I mean, the boat is they're using the same back projection scenes over and over again. The boat is going so fucking fast. It's like light speeding ahead. It makes no sense.
Isn't there a part when like Bond he like tries to change the course of the boat and he
there's several shots of it's either Largo or Bond at the steering wheel, and it's going so fucking fast. It's like
it's ridiculous. I don't know what was going on.
The only thing I like about that fight is the end. That I like that Domino is responsible for killing Largo.
Yeah, I do too. That was a good bit of like.
I think that's satisfying.
Yeah, again, like that must be why they made her. Like they must have went and made her Francois's brother, sister. Yeah. They made her Francois's sister. There you go.
So the boat is about to crash because it's going at warp 8 into a rock.
They go back to 1950 and. Bond has to make sure his parents get together, but Biff goes in the way.
Oh, but they died in a climbing accident. He became an orphan. So Bond, the three of them have to get off the boat, right? And Ladislav Kutz is like, I can't swim. And Bond says, never a better time to learn. Bond literally, I'm pretty sure it just killed him right then and there because you never see him again.
Well, he's still learning, and
that guy literally fucking saved hundreds of thousands of lives. I mean, granted, he was a bad guy, but Bond gives him the raft, yeets him over the side, and then we never see him again. So he definitely was killed by a shark or something.
Just like British hospitality.
That is just so, and I hate.
No, Travis, did you not get to the post-credit scene? It was the first movie to ever do one where it's nighttime and you see him swimming around going, hello?
You see him coming back, and he's like really mad at Bond. He becomes Blofeld in the next film.
You can imagine. No, he's in the water at night. He's going, "Hello, anybody there? I can't swim." And you start seeing shark fins surrounding him. You not see that?
Yeah, and then Red Grant comes back from Russia with Love because he's in Jaws. This whole ending is so abrupt. I feel like this bit we're in the raft. And they're taken away by the plane.
Yeah, so funny about that you say that. So I looked away. I saw them getting on the raft and stuff, and then I looked away. I looked away for a second, and then I looked back, and the credits were like halfway done. I had to rewind it because I was like, "What the?" It's like the last shot before the credits is them, being hoisted up, and it's
that is so impractical. I feel like
I know it's impractical, and in terms of filmmaking, it's got the bad projection thing again, which I guess just summarizes the movie.
So there's also a really bad bit right before the boat explodes, and you see them. They're clearly in a pool. Like the water looks totally different.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's this way. It's over. Thank God.
It's over, thank God.
But we got through it. I feel like I didn't rip this movie. If I was reviewing this film maybe 2 years ago, I would have ripped it to Kingdom Come. But I actually enjoyed it. Let's give our scores. I'll give it 5 bar guy out of 10, because obviously the last few films I've given 8, 7s, 9s, much higher scores. But for a long time, this would have been probably my least favorite Bond film. I've sort of reevaluated that recently, but I did get a lot of enjoyment out of it. The script is good. The story is kind of generic. But when I think about this film, and I talked about it last time with Goldfinger, how Goldfinger was such a phenomenon, and it's so iconicized and almost romanticized. The same thing goes with Thunderball, because Thunderball was almost even more of a peak for Bond mania. And I've met so many people that say, "Oh, Thunderball is my favorite Bond film," and I just think, how can it be your favorite Bond film? Every single film I think we've watched before this is superior in almost every way.
Oh yeah, definitely. So those people that you've met no longer with us, correct?
No, it's always people that saw Thunderball in theaters as a kid or something, and they have like a nostalgic attachment to it. You know, if you watch it now, even if they watch it now, they still think that way about it. But
I wonder,
seeing it with a broader lens, it just shows that it's really not. I mean, look, okay, there's good things about this movie, right?
Yeah.
The locations are amazing. The characters, there are quite a few. Domino's good. Largo is bland, I think.
Felix is okay.
Felix is bland. I like Paula. Fiona is the highlight.
Yeah. Do you think part of why people who watched it in theaters and stuff like look back on it so fondly is, so I'd say that Goldfinger is 100% the most iconic Bond film. It's got Pussy Galore, you know.
Thunderball almost has the fame consequentially, in a way.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. My theory is coming off of the hype of Goldfinger, I wonder if that's why Thunderball was looked on fondly.
I think so, but I think there are plenty of people that genuinely think it's a great film. I mean, one of the things that's great about Bond is that it appeals to so many, not genres, but sort of styles. And there's almost something for everybody in the franchise. And I feel like Bond fans, like the Bond fan community, is very not toxic, which I appreciate.
I will give this movie 4 Thunderbolts out of 10. All 4 of those numbers. Okay, so 3 of them are Connery, 1 of them are the sporting characters. That's all I can say. I did not enjoy, especially the sort of last half of the movie. I didn't enjoy it anywhere near as much as the other movies. I don't think it's an egregious movie that I'd never watch again, or that isn't redeemable, or that I might not lighten up on in the future, but it just pales in comparison, which is disappointing. But I guess it sort of had to happen because it was 3 in a row of really good movies, and you know, and again, it's sort of one of those things as well where, like, in practice, I can appreciate things like sort of doing all these things underwater, all these stunts and set pieces and action scenes. I can like commend it, but it's not there yet in the slightest. And I mean, yeah, the movie as well, it looks great now that it's widescreen, and they do make use of, you know, all these really nice locations, but I just think it's like kind of a mess.
I feel the same way about. I appreciate the difficulty of shooting the underwater stuff. It just makes for a boring experience for me.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I'm happy that the film exists on a bunch of levels, like, because it still seems like it's going to forward the Bond franchise. I mean, obviously it does work 60 years, but you know what I mean. It's like it's sort of a step that they had to take. I just wish they'd have, like, I don't know. It could have been better. I don't necessarily blame them for it not being better, but it could have been better, if that makes sense.
I think the next film is significantly better. I really love You Only Live Twice. I hope you do too. Definitely an improvement with Thunderball. New director, so it's refreshing. But yeah, I just think Thunderball is easily the most overhyped film in the entire franchise.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that sentiment.